Hola. I hope all of you are doing well and staying sane. I know it's a very difficult time, but I'm hopeful that you're staying healthy and hopefully you're following through and doing some of the things you should be doing schoolwork wise as well. It's all difficult for all of us and we're all getting through it. This particular chapter, chapter 9 in the textbook series, is going to give us the ability to talk about things in the past tense. And the introduction is to a verb tense we know as preterito. It's one of two major ways of saying things in the past. There's preterito and there's imperfecto. If you continue on with Spanish too, we'll do a lot more of that next year. But for right now, this is definitely a new concept that I hope will make sense after I explain it briefly. So before, all you could say is I do things in general, like I speak or I study or all these things like yo hablo, yo estudio. What we do in the preterite or preterito, much like the present tense, is we drop the AR, in this case, as you see in front of you, or the ER and IR, which we'll do later in the next chapter, and you add a different set of endings than what you're used to. Instead of the basic AR endings that we did in videos like conjugations back, we have a whole new set of endings, which I'll highlight for you in the very end of this in green here. So instead of saying, for example, with hablar is to speak, instead of saying hablo, I speak, you would say hablé. So you drop the AR like you always would, and you have that E with an accent mark with that long A sound. So yo hablé is I spoke. Another common one would be this verb nadar over here in this area, and that means to swim. We're going to be talking about summer activities. One very common thing for many people is swimming, okay, going to the lakes and ponds and things and swimming or swimming pools. So instead of saying nado, which is I swim, you would say nade, meaning I swam. So by the very small change in the back of that verb, by dropping the AR and adding a different ending, you're showing who did something and that it happened in the past. So just to go all the way through and see the verb hablar, you're going to see all the different forms. So you just drop the ARs. And so, for example, again, yo hablé is I spoke. Tu hablaste, instead of saying tu hablas, you say tu hablaste, and that means you spoke instead of you speak in general. The él, ella, or usted, remember that's he, she, or you, if you're being polite, would be habló. Now, that's pronounced differently than saying hablo, which means I speak. So because the accent mark is there, it's important to emphasize that. So you say habló, él habló, he spoke. Okay, instead of él habla, he speaks in general. Nosotros would be hablamos. Now, this one here, put a little bit of an asterisk here, is interesting because it's actually exactly the same. If you remember, it's an amos from before as well to say that we speak. So when you say hablamos, you're saying that we speak or we spoke. So you have to have context. You have to put a verb or a word like ayer behind it. Otherwise, we just assume we're saying we speak. Okay, but if you put ayer, it means yesterday. Hablamos ayer would mean we spoke yesterday. Hablasteis vosotros, that you all spoke if you're in Spain. And lastly, ellos, ellas, or ustedes, hablaron. So instead of saying hablan, you say hablaron. So again, all of these endings are uniquely different than the present tense, and they will show you who did these objects and that it happened in the past. One more small thing to add today and moving forward is if the verb ends in, as the number 3 says, in this car, gar, zar series of endings, only the yo form, just for yourself, if you say that I did these things, you have a bit of a different set of endings. For example, this first example says marcaste un tanto. Did you score a point? When you say that I scored a point, you have this, instead of marse, which you normally do, you have marque un tanto. So you have this different endings, okay? It's a different set of endings here only for the yo form. Now these are only for things that are exceptions to the rule. It's not a major thing, but it's a small thing you have to realize that just for the yo form, when you say I did these things, if it ends in car, gar, or zar, the spelling change has to be noted. Okay, other than that, most things are regular. The vast majority will fall under what you see right in these areas here. Okay, basically, if you look at that and look at those endings in particular, hopefully this will make more sense that when you say, I did something, you can say that now. Okay, so please, again, take note of this. This is a brand new concept, and I'll be adding more things and also more sites you can look at. I'm certainly not the only source. There are other sites that have explanations, and there's even going to be a video that I'll show you later. I hope you guys are doing well and staying safe, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.